I told you never to interfere again. Stay down!
My leg! You are hurting me!
What is going on here? Stop her immediately!
The market square fell silent. Mama and Kem lay in the red dust, her wrapper torn, her gray hair uncovered. Above her stood Adana, her own daughter, dressed in golden lace and glittering jewelry, her foot still raised in the kick that had sent the old woman sprawling. "Don't you ever touch me with your dirty hands again, old woman." Adana's voice cut through the shocked silence. "I am not your mate. Go back to your mud hut where you belong." 300 eyes watched. 300 mouths hung open. In all the years of the village, no one had ever seen such abomination. Chief Okonkwo's staff fell from his trembling hands. Mama and Kem slowly pushed herself up from the dust, her aged bones creaking. But instead of tears of pain, her eyes held something else, something that made even Adana take a step back. The old woman smiled. "My daughter," Mama and Kem whispered, loud enough for all to hear, "you have kicked your mother today. Now, you will walk as your mother walked. This is not a curse. This is my gift to you." Then she did something that made the entire village gasp. "Hello, guys. Welcome to my African Tales. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And most important thing, turn your notification bell so you can get informed when I dropped another amazing story. Drop your thoughts and reactions in the comments. What would you do if your spouse tried to kill you and you survive? Will you take a revenge or disappear forever? 5 hours earlier, the sun hung low over Yumyuk village as a lorry rumbled into the dusty square, belching black smoke. Before it even stopped, villagers began gathering, drawn by curiosity and the unusual sight of such a fine vehicle in their humble community. "Who is coming?" asked Mama Adara, shielding her eyes against the afternoon glare. "They say it is Nkem's daughter," replied Chioma, who had been Adana's childhood friend, the one who went to Lagos 10 years ago. When the door opened, gasps rippled through the crowd. The woman who stepped down bore little resemblance to the skinny village girl who had left. Adana wore a golden lace dress that shimmered like captured sunlight, red high heels that clicked against the hard earth, and enough jewelry to shame a chief's wife. Her skin had been lightened with expensive creams. Her hair fell in long Brazilian waves, and her nails were painted the color of fresh blood. Behind her, a driver struggled with 6 heavy suitcases. "My God," whispered an old man, "is this truly Nkem's daughter? The one who used to fetch water with a broken calabash?" Adana heard him. Her painted lips curved into a smile that held no warmth. "Yes, Papa, but that girl is dead. I am Adana Chambers now, Mrs. Chambers. My husband is a big man in Lagos. We own 3 houses and 2 cars." The villagers murmured with a mixture of admiration and unease. There was something wrong about the way she spoke, as if the village itself, and everyone in it, was beneath her notice. "Where is your mother?" Chief Okonkwo asked, leaning heavily on his staff. "Mama and Kem will be overjoyed to see you. She has waited 10 years, my daughter, 10 long years without even a letter." Adana's face hardened. "I am here for my cousin Abuka's wedding tomorrow, not for sentiment. Someone show me to a proper guest house, if such a thing exists in this backward place." A shocked silence fell. To speak of one's own village with such contempt was unthinkable. To dismiss one's own mother was worse than taboo. It was abomination. But before anyone could respond, a commotion arose at the edge of the crowd. People parted like tall grass before wind. "Adana, Adana, my child, my daughter has come home." Mama and Kem pushed through the throng, her face radiant with joy despite the tears streaming down her weathered cheeks. She wore her usual faded wrapper and torn headscarf, the only clothes she owned. Her feet were bare and dusty, her hands rough from years of farming. But her eyes shone with a mother's love that needed no adornment. "My baby girl, 10 years. Let me look at you. Let me hold you." The old woman rushed forward with open arms, ready to embrace the daughter she had sacrificed everything to send to school, the daughter who had promised to return but never did, the daughter who had stopped sending money 5 years ago, leaving her to survive on the charity of neighbors. Adana's face twisted with disgust. She stepped backward, her heel catching in the dust. "Get away from me. Don't you see these clothes? Do you know how much this dress costs? More than your entire miserable life. My daughter, it is me, your mother. I am the one who... You are nothing to me." Adana shrieked. Her voice rose to a pitch that scattered the chickens and silenced even the crying babies. "Look at you, dirty, poor, illiterate. Do you think I worked this hard to escape this poverty just to have you embarrass me in front of everyone?" Mom and Kem's arms slowly lowered, but she kept moving forward, her eyes pleading. "Adana, my child, what has happened to you? What has Lagos done to your heart? Stay back." But the old woman, blinded by tears and 10 years of longing, reached out one final time. Her rough, work-worn fingers brushed against the golden lace of her daughter's sleeve. What happened next would be told in Yumuk village for generations. Adana's hand flew up and struck her mother's face with a crack that echoed across the market square. Then, as the old woman stumbled, Adana's red high heel connected with her mother's chest. Mama and Kem flew backward and crashed into the dust. The world stopped. Time seemed to freeze in the market square of Yumuk. Mama and Kem lay sprawled in the red earth, one arm twisted beneath her, her wrapper half undone, exposed in the poverty of her worn undergarments. Dust settled slowly on her gray hair like premature burial sand. A thin line of blood trickled from her split lip. No one moved. No one breathed. In Igbo culture, a mother is sacred more than sacred. She is the earthly representation of Ani, the earth goddess herself. To strike one's mother is to strike the very ground that feeds you, to spit in the face of the ancestors, to invite curses upon 7 generations. Chief Okonkwo's ancient face had gone ashen. His staff, carved from Irako wood that had seen 80 seasons, slipped from his fingers and clattered against a stone. The sound broke the terrible silence like a gunshot. "Abomination!" he whispered. Then louder, "Abomination! GMO!" Mama Otter covered her mouth, her voice breaking. "My God, what have we witnessed?" Adana stood frozen, her chest heaving, her manicured hand still raised. For one brief moment, something flickered across her face. Was it shock? Regret? But then her features hardened again, and she tossed her Brazilian hair over her shoulder. "She should have stayed away from me," Adana said coldly, though her voice shook slightly. "I warned her." "You warned your mother?" Young Chioma stepped forward, her eyes blazing with fury that matched her red head wrap. "The woman who sold her only goat to pay your school fees? The woman who went hungry so you could eat meat? That mother?" Adana's face flushed. "That was her choice. I didn't ask her to suffer. I didn't ask to be born in this wretched place. But you asked her to sell her land to send you to Lagos," called out Papa Namdi, his voice hard as ironstone. "I was there when she came to the village council, begging us to witness the sale. She wept as she signed the papers. 'It is for my daughter's future,' she said. 'Adana will be somebody great, and she will lift me from poverty.' We all heard her." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. More voices joined. "She worked on our farms for table scraps to feed you. She slept on the church floor when she could no longer pay rent. We gave her our old clothes because she had sold everything, even her wedding wrapper, to send you money in Lagos." Each accusation hit Adana like stones, and with each one, her face grew harder, more defensive. But something in her eyes betrayed her, a desperate, cornered look. "Stop it. All of you, stop it. You're just jealous. Jealous that I escaped this miserable poverty, while you all rot here in the village." "Adana!" The voice was soft but carried such weight that everyone turned. Mama and Kem was rising. She moved slowly, painfully, using the corner of a wooden stall to pull herself upright. Blood still seeped from her lip, staining the dust at her feet. Her wrapper was torn, exposing her thin legs, marked with the scars of poverty, old wounds from firewood gathering, burns from cooking with no shoes, the swollen joints of endless labor. But her face held no anger. The old woman stood fully, swaying slightly. She looked at her daughter with eyes so filled with sorrow that several women in the crowd began to weep. "My daughter," Mama and Kem said quietly, "you have kicked your mother in front of the whole village. You have shamed the womb that carried you, the breast that fed you, the hands that washed you when you soiled yourself as a baby. Adana opened her mouth, but no words came out. Mama and Kem took one step forward, then another. The crowd held its breath. But I am not angry, my child. I am not angry because I understand something you do not yet know. The old woman's voice grew stronger, clearer. You think you have risen high. You think your fine clothes and your Legos husband have made you better than us, better than me. She was close now, close enough that Adana could smell the wood smoke and sweat on her mother's torn wrapper. So now, my daughter, I will give you a gift, not a curse. I am your mother, and I cannot curse you even when you deserve it, but a gift that will teach you what you have forgotten. Mama and Kem reached down and pulled something from her wrapper, a small leather pouch, ancient and worn. The crowd gasped. Even Chief Okonkwo stepped back. That is, he breathed, that is the family chi, the guardian spirit. Mama and Kem opened a pouch and poured red earth into her palm, earth from the compound where Adana had been born, earth mixed with umbilical cord blood, earth that bound daughter to mother across the spirit world. She looked into Adana's eyes. From this moment, my daughter, you will walk as I have walked. You will see through my eyes. You will feel what I have felt. For 7 days, you will live my life, not as punishment, but as teaching. And on the 7th day, you will choose to remain as you are or to be reborn. Then Mama and Kem smiled, a smile so strange and knowing that it sent chills through every witness. She raised her hand and blew the red earth into Adana's face. The world exploded into light. Adana woke to the smell of wood smoke and poverty. Her eyes fluttered open to a ceiling of rusted zinc sheets patched with old plastic bags. Sunlight stabbed through the holes, creating prison bars of light across a floor of packed earth. The walls were unpainted cement blocks, stained with mold and age. In one corner stood a 3-legged cooking pot balanced on stones. In another, a sleeping mat so thin she could see the ground through it. This was not the guest house. This was not anywhere she recognized. What were my? Her voice came out cracked, strange. She tried to sit up and gasped. Pain. Every muscle screamed. Her back felt like it had been beaten with sticks. Her hands. She raised them to her face and screamed again. These were not her hands. These hands were dark, rough, calloused. The nails were broken and dirty. Scars crisscrossed the palms. Old burn marks. Cuts from farming tools. The permanent damage of a lifetime of hard labor. She scrambled to her feet and immediately collapsed. Her legs wouldn't work properly. They were swollen at the joints. Painful, the legs of someone who had walked barefoot on hot earth for 60 years. No. She crawled to a cracked piece of mirror propped against the wall. The face staring back made her soul shatter. Mom and Kem's face. Wrinkled, aged, with that same scar on the left cheek from where a man had struck her 20 years ago when she couldn't repay a loan. Gray hair, thin and unkempt. Teeth missing. Eyes tired beyond measure. This is not real. This is not real. She clawed at her face, but the reflection clawed back with rough, elderly hands. Oh, but it is real, my daughter. Adana spun around. Mom and Kem stood in the doorway, but she wore Adana's body, the golden dress, the jewelry, the smooth skin and Brazilian hair. But the eyes were still the mother's. Gentle, sorrowful, knowing, what have you done to me? Adana shrieked, trying to stand again and falling. I have done what I said. For 7 days you will walk as I have walked. You will see what I have seen. You will understand what you have despised. Mama and Kem, in Adana's body, moved gracefully into the tiny room. And I will walk as you have walked, so that I might understand what changed my daughter's heart. Change us back. Change us back right now. On the 7th day, if you choose it, but not before. The old woman's spirit smiled sadly from behind Adana's beautiful face. Come, daughter. The sun is rising, and you have work to do. Work? I'm not doing anything. I'm going to... Adana tried to stand again, but her aged legs buckled. You are going to live. Mom and Kem said firmly, as I have lived. Today, you will go to Chief Okonkwo's farm and weed his yam fields. That is how I earn money to eat. 200 naira for 8 hours under sun. 200 naira? Adana's mouth fell open. That's nothing. I spend more than that on bottled water. Yes, and that nothing must buy my food, my kerosene, and save something for medicine. Mama and Kem gestured to the corner, where a small tin sat. I have 140 naira left from last week. The medicine for my joint pain costs 300 naira, so I do not buy it. I bear the pain. Adana stared at the tin, then at the impossible poverty surrounding her. The reality crashed over her like cold water. I can't live like this. I have lived like this for 10 years. My daughter. 10 years since you stopped sending money. 10 years since you even sent a letter. Mom and Kem's voice held no accusation, only fact. And before that, I lived like this to send you to Lagos. I lived like this to make you into the woman who kicked me yesterday. The words struck deeper than any physical blow. I didn't know, Adana whispered, but the excuse died on her lips, because she had known and chosen to forget. Come. Mom and Kem lifted a hoe from the corner, a farming tool with a handle wrapped in cloth to protect hands already too damaged to protect. Chief Okonkwo's farm is 2 kilometers away. We must walk because I cannot afford transport. Walk? In this body? I can barely stand. Yes, welcome to every morning of my life. Mom and Kem handed her the hoe. I usually wrap my feet in plastic bags because I have no shoes. The plastic is in that corner. Adana looked at the torn plastic bags, then at the rough path visible through the doorway, then at her mother's face smiling out at her from her own stolen body. For the first time in 10 years, Adana began to understand what she had done. But the lesson had only just begun. By the 3rd day, Adana wanted to die. Every muscle was on fire. Her hands bled from the hoe handle despite the cloth wrapping. Her back had a permanent bend from stooping over yam mounds. The sun had burned her neck, her mother's neck, into raw, peeling flesh. And the hunger, God, the hunger never stopped. That morning, she had eaten her only meal of the day, a handful of gari soaked in water with a pinch of salt. No sugar, no milk, no groundnuts. Just white cassava flour that sat in her stomach like sand, providing the bare minimum to keep her alive. This cannot be real, she muttered as she limped toward the market, where Mom and Kem had sent her to buy kerosene. The 200 naira from yesterday's farm work felt impossibly heavy in her wrapper, not from weight, but from responsibility. This money was everything. Food or medicine, kerosene or soap, never both, always choosing. The market was busy with morning traders. Adana kept her head down, ashamed to be seen in her mother's body, in these rags. But then she heard familiar laughter, her husband's voice. She looked up and froze. There, near the yam sellers, stood Mr. Chambers, her husband, the big man from Lagos, the man she had married for his money. He was laughing with Chioma, her old friend. His hand rested too familiarly on Chioma's waist. So when you return to Lagos, will you forget me? Chioma giggled, batting her eyes. Forget you? Never. Unlike some village women who get proud when they reach the city, you have remained sweet. He pulled her closer. My wife used to be sweet like you. Now she is bitter like unripe mango. Always wanting more money, more clothes, more everything. I am tired of her. Adana's heart stopped. But you married her, Chioma said. I married her because she was young and pretty and promised to obey me like a proper wife. But now, he spat in the dust. She is useless, cannot cook properly, cannot even give me children. The doctor said it is her body's fault. All those abortion pills she took before we married, trying to enjoy life in Lagos. Now her womb is damaged. Each word was a knife. Adana stumbled backward, her aged legs nearly giving out. Mom and Kem. A trader woman called out, seeing her distress. Are you well? Come, sit down. But Adana couldn't sit, couldn't breathe. The man she had abandoned her mother for, the man she had sold her soul to impress, thought she was useless. And Chioma, sweet, humble Chioma who had stayed in the village, was already planning to replace her. "Mama, are you crying?" Another woman approached, her face concerned. "What is troubling you?" "Nothing," Adana whispered, wiping tears with rough hands. I am just tired." "Ah, we are all tired, Mama, but you carry it with such grace." The woman pressed something into Adana's hand. 20 naira. "Take this. Buy yourself some akra today. You are too thin." "I cannot." "Take it, Mom and Kem. You have helped all of us at one time or another. When my child was sick, you gave me your last money for transport to the hospital. When Papa Namdi's wife died, you cooked the funeral even though you had no food yourself. Let's help you now." Adana stared at the crumpled 20 naira note. Her mother had given away money she desperately needed to help others? "That is how she is." Another voice added, "Mama and Kem has nothing, but she shares that nothing with everyone. That is why we love her. That is why we were so shocked when you were—" The woman trailed off, embarrassed. "When her daughter kicked her," Adana finished silently. "When I kicked her." She stumbled away from the market, the 20 naira clutched in her fist, her heart breaking with every painful step. All this time, she had thought her mother was nothing, a poor, pathetic old woman who had failed at life. But the truth was staring her in the face. Mom and Kem was rich beyond measure, not in money, but in love, in respect, in dignity that no amount of golden dresses could buy. She found her mother, in her body, sitting under the irako tree at the village center. Mama and Kem was using Adana's manicured hands to peel cassava for an elderly woman too weak to do it herself. "You're using my body to do manual labor?" Adana asked bitterly. "I am using your body to live as you should have lived," Mom and Kem replied gently, "with compassion, with humility, with love for your people." "My husband is cheating on me," Adana blurted out. "I know. I have known since the beginning. That is why I prayed for you every night. Not that you would send money, but that you would remember who you are, who I am." Adana laughed bitterly, looking down at her mother's worn body. "I am nothing. I have nothing. I abandoned the one person who truly loved me to chase a man who thinks I'm useless and a life that means nothing." Mama and Kem set down the cassava and looked at her daughter with eyes full of understanding. "Now," she said softly, "now you are beginning to see. For more days, my daughter, for more days to understand the weight of sacrifice and the value of love." That night, as Adana lay on the thin mat in the tiny room, she wept, not from physical pain, but from something far deeper. She wept for the mother she had despised. She wept for the life she had wasted. And she wept because she finally understood revenge would have been a curse, a beating, public humiliation. But this was love in its most devastating, transformative form. On the 7th morning, Adana woke before dawn, as she had learned to do. Her body, her mother's body, no longer screamed quite as loudly. She had learned to wrap her feet properly, to pace herself in the fields, to stretch the meager food to last a day. But more importantly, she had learned to see. She saw the women who smiled at Mama and Kem despite their own poverty, the children who called her grandma, though they shared no blood, the men who tipped their hats in respect, not for wealth, but for character. She saw the compound where she had been born, the very earth her mother had mixed with her umbilical cord blood to create the binding spell. And she saw the small shrine there, hidden beneath a plantain tree, where offerings of kola nuts and palm wine sat untouched. "Those are from the villagers." Mama and Kem's voice came from behind her. She approached in Adana's body, but now the golden dress was gone. She wore a simple, clean wrapper, the kind village women wore on Sunday. Every week, someone leave an offering. They pray that your mother's kindness will bless their families. They pray to her like she's a deity, not to her, for her, because they recognize what you could not, that poverty of pocket does not mean poverty of spirit. Mama and Kem sat beside her on the ground. "Today is the 7th day. Today you choose. Choose. I can return us to our own bodies. You can go back to Lagos, to your husband who despises you, to your life of hollow wealth. Or, she paused, letting the word hang in the air like morning mist. Or you can stay as you are. Adana's head snapped up. Stay? As you? In this poverty? Why would anyone choose that? Because you would not be choosing poverty, my daughter. You will be choosing truth. You will be living honestly. Poor, yes, but loved, respected, real. Mama Nkem's voice grew soft. In Lagos, you are Mrs. Chambers, but you are not yourself. You are a costume, a performance. Here, even in my worn-out body, you would be Adana, my daughter. Home. For a long moment, Adana said nothing. She looked at her rough hands, felt a familiar ache in her joints, smelled the wood smoke that would never wash out her clothes. Then she laughed, a sound without humor. No. Mama Nkem's face fell slightly, but she nodded. I understand. No, Adana repeated, stronger now. I do not choose to stay in your body, but I also do not choose to return to my old life. She turned to face her mother directly. I choose a third path. Change us back, Mama. Give me my body. But this time, I will use it differently. What do you mean? I mean, Adana's voice broke. I mean that I am divorcing my husband. I am selling those 3 houses he is so proud of. They are in my name because he wanted to avoid taxes. I am taking that money, and I am building you a proper house, with a zinc roof that does not leak, with a real bed, with medicine money that never runs out. Tears spilled down the weathered cheeks. And I am coming home, Mama, not to visit, to stay, to farm beside you, to learn how to be the woman you tried to raise before Lagos corrupted me, to earn back the respect of the people I scorned. Mama Nkem's eyes widened. You would give up Lagos? Give up city life? I would give up the lie for the truth. Adana reached out and took her mother's hands, her own young hands, but now she saw them differently. These 7 days, you have shown me that your revenge was not punishment. It was mercy. You gave me eyes to see my blindness, a heart to feel my hardness. She knelt before her mother, pressing her forehead to the dust in the traditional gesture of deepest apology. Mama, I beg you, forgive this foolish daughter who kicked you, who shamed you, who forgot that the greatest wealth is not in Lagos mansions, but in a mother's love. The village was stirring now. Early risers emerged from their compounds and stopped, seeing the strange tableau, the old woman kneeling in the dust, the young woman weeping. Mama Nkem pulled Adana, in her body, to her feet. My daughter, she whispered, I forgave you the moment you kicked me. A mother's love does not end because her child falls. It grows stronger, hoping to catch her before she hits the ground. She reached into her wrapper and pulled out the leather pouch once more. This time, she poured the red earth into Adana's palm, her own palm, young and smooth. Hold this. Close your eyes. And when you open them, be reborn. The transformation came like dawn, slow, then sudden, then complete. Adana blinked and found herself looking down at her own hands, her own body, her own feet in those ridiculous red high heels that now seemed absurd. And there stood Mama Nkem, elderly and worn, smiling through tears. Adana fell into her mother's arms, not caring about the dirt, the sweat, the torn wrapper. She held on as if drowning, and perhaps she was drowning in gratitude, in shame, in overwhelming love. Thank you, Mama, she sobbed. Thank you for not giving me the revenge I deserved. Thank you for giving me the mercy I did not earn. By noon, the entire village had gathered. Adana stood before them in her golden dress, but she had removed the jewelry, kicked off the high heels. She spoke clearly. I am Adana, daughter of Nkem. 7 days ago, I committed an abomination against my mother. Today, I am here to confess my shame and ask forgiveness, not just from her, but from all of you who witnessed my disgrace. She pulled papers from her expensive handbag. This is the deed to my mother's land, the land she sold to send me to Lagos. I am buying it back, and I am building her a house on it, and I am staying here to take care of her for as long as God gives me breath. Chief Okonkwo stepped forward, his face stern. And what of your husband, your Lagos life? My Lagos life was built on shame and lies. I am tearing it down to build something true. She looked at her mother. I cannot give back the 10 years I stole, but I can give her the rest of my life. Mom and Kem's smile could have lit the darkest night, and as the village erupted in celebration, because Africans always celebrate redemption, Adana understood the final lesson. Her mother's revenge was not punishment. It was transformation. And transformation, she now knew, was the greatest gift a mother could give.